seemingly no one's going to say, well, look, it's a bad thing that we're trying to catch people who are downloading horrific child abuse images, but it's obviously the implications beyond that that people are going to be worrying about.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't think anybody, Christo, would stand against sort of trying to control, seize, and ultimately prosecute individuals that create and distribute this kind of material. Child sexual abuse images is a fundamental problem, particularly on the dark web, but it's something which obviously has pervaded quite substantially across a number of different demographics. But you hit the nail exactly on the head in terms of the fact that Apple is about to do something quite monumental, and it's almost a little bit by stealth, because even if when we listen to Tim Cook, their CEO, who's spoken very forthrightly about the benefits of Apple is that it affords its users privacy, this is unlocking a door, a back end to the encryption, which potentially can open up a whole gamut of problems down the line.
Because there is an increasing amount of us, again, because seemingly it's convenient, because we're trying to do good things, in this case, fight child abuse images. But also beyond that, we all use, mapping devices on our phone to get from A to B. We will use various other apps in order to make our lives easier. We'll pay using our phones. I mean, this is increasingly us, seemingly for good reasons, potentially giving away a hell of a lot of information.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there are still some corners which are kept secure. I mean, one of the things that Apple is very, again, forthright about is iMessage, and that this is end-to-end encryption, and that the Apple employees cannot look at your messages, cannot intercept your messages, unless, of course, they're forced to do so by the government. But Apple have also, Christo, you may recall, been very strong about protecting its users' privacies. When we go back to the San Bernardino terrorist attack, and they wouldn't open up the old iPhone, obviously, of one of the terrorists to the FBI, and the FBI had to go to a hacker company down in Australia and pay what is purportedly about over $1 million to get a de-encryption key to get into that phone. Now, the problem with this is that, okay, Apple is not going to look at the pictures of your children or your cats or, your holidays. But by opening this up, what they're saying is that there will be algorithms to read, obviously, your pictures, the metadata in your pictures. And there will be vouchers exchanged, obviously, between those. And those are digital vouchers, which will then, if they meet a particular threshold, if they're concerned about it, it will be reviewed by staff personally. And if it's felt to be beyond that threshold, it will be reported to the authorities.
These aren't, sorry to jump in, but these aren't just, someone browsing on the internet to look at these images. These are images that are saved into the drive of the phone.
Correct, absolutely. But the point I was going to come to was the fact that they have not made it very clear as to what that threshold is, what the tolerance threshold is. Now, there's other concerns, which is where someone sends you an image that you haven't necessarily requested or solicited, and it could actually potentially indict individuals that, I mean, we've all been in WhatsApp chats with our friends, and maybe it's late at night, and a few people have had a few drink.
I've got a friend, my friend Paul. He sends me the most filthy stuff. He really does. But we've
all got a Paul.
Yeah, we've all got a Paul, and he thinks it's the most hilarious thing, especially when I open it. I'm like, oh my God, that's disgusting. And the thing is that it is disgusting, and I don't want to see it. But you're right. What will be the line where someone says, well, actually, we really need to act on this?
Absolutely.
And then I find myself sort of being taken away in handcuffs for a stupid, fruity video that my friend Paul sent me.
Absolutely. And when we then move to certain countries around the world where things such as pornography just generally is barred, like, for example, in India, they changed their legislation a few years ago that online pornography, you may have seen in the papers recently, Shilpa Shetty from Big Brother fame, her husband's been caught up in an online pornography arrest. If you visit or try to go to prohibited pornographic websites, and that's any websites in India, you could get up to 3 years in prison. You go to countries which are less tolerant of homosexuality, any of that pornography, you could end up in a far worse position than 3 years in jail. So,
but also it could open up the state saying, well, actually, you're a male phone user. What are you doing with all those quite innocent shirtless pictures, for instance, in your phone. I mean, that might
Exactly.
not even be pornographic. So it sort of does open the door, but it is just this sinister idea of us. Again, and I use the term sleepwalking deliberately, that we all say, oh my God, it's brilliant. Yeah, we're going to stop child pornography. Or, oh, yes, it's brilliant. We're going to be able to pay using our mobile phones, without maybe just thinking about beyond this, what we're actually giving up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a kind of insidious data leakage that we're all potentially victim to. I mean, many people, when I sit down with them and tell them how much information they're actually leaking by interacting with certain apps or going on various websites and not using certain security tools, they're quite shocked. And it's just another aspect of that privacy being stripped away from us. And for the vast majority of us that would not be involved in moving these kind of images around or storing them, we are not at risk from the potential developments of these kind of back doors to encryption, which are going to be afforded. So, we have to stand fast. And I'm a strong believer in helping law enforcement, but there are some grey areas here, Christo, that we need to worry about.